Good evening, everyone. Um, good evening, everyone. It is that hour to get started. Welcome to tonight's training entitled Small Business Branding Marketing 101 and Steps to Activate Your Brand. I bring you greetings on behalf of Headco Inc. and their sponsors and all their partners who work together to make these small business trainings possible. My name is Jimmy McMichael, and I'll be your host tonight, and I'll be your host for the next 5 weeks as we launch this 6-part Building Your Brand training series that Headco is putting on for the benefit of the Connecticut small business community. So this opening series is a 2-part training beginning tonight and ending next Wednesday at 6 p.m. And so during these 2 weeks, we'll tackle the basic marketing concepts and fundamentals, and then you'll learn how to activate your business brand and create brand awareness and value. So please, please, please put placeholders on your calendar for Wednesdays at 6 p.m., actually for the next few months, as Headco will be offering free trainings at that time on different topics. So you're going to receive the registration invites next week for the remaining sessions of this 6-part training series. Then we'll transition from building your brand to protecting your brand. So before we get started, here are a few housekeeping matters. Tonight's presentation is in webinar format, which means that you can see and hear the guest presenter, but you won't be able to see each other, like in a traditional Zoom meeting. However, this session is definitely an interactive experience in that you'll be able to ask questions and have them answered. So we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. And I'll enable everyone's audio so that you can talk and ask questions directly. However, feel free to drop at any time questions that you may have in the chat, and we'll circle back to them at the end, or depending upon kind of the flow of the session, our presenter may be able to take a few questions and address them at that time. So my only rule for tonight is this: make sure you enjoy yourselves and use what you learn here tonight and next week from our facilitator to grow your business. And so I'm going to introduce tonight's speaker. I have the honor of introducing a good friend of mine who you're soon going to find out is a subject matter expert in this space. So Winston Warrior is our presenter tonight. He's the head of global marketing for Amazon Corporation's Project Kuiper, their newest initiative, which is a project to launch a space constellation of low Earth orbit satellites to provide high-speed broadband connectivity to communities, businesses, and governments around the world. So Winston leads all aspects of the marketing mix, along with big box partnership and internal sales. He and his team are responsible for creating and launching the official brand and for creating innovative customer acquisition initiatives, including events, conferences, and activations. His team sustains an engaging digital footprint, as well as executing lifecycle marketing, events, business intelligence, and analytics, and customer retention strategies. So before he took this role and moved out to Seattle, Winston was the executive director of strategic communications, marketing, and operations at the University of Miami, where he was also a lecturer for both their undergraduate and graduate level studies in their School of Communication. So he's got a stellar resume of executive marketing roles with companies such as AT&T, Cox Media, Cox Communications, Football Hall of Fame, and Motorola. And so if that's not enough, he's doing his own thing in the entrepreneur space, and he serves as the principal marketing and business strategy consultant of Vintage Consulting and Entertainment, a consulting firm that assists clients with brand vision and market-specific sales approaches to accelerated revenue growth and return on their investment. So with no further ado, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Winston Warrior. Mr. Warrior, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And sometimes you have to kind of look behind your shoulder like, who's he talking about? But I think you're talking about me. So hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. This is going to be one of 2 sessions that we will have together. And this session is focused on Marketing 101. And of course, marketing is a big topic. So you won't get all of the things that you need to know, because that's going to take maybe going to school to get it, all those kind of things. But I'm here to help, educate you on what marketing is and help your businesses, right? And so what I like to do is look at this first slide and forgive me because I may go in professor mode because I was a real professor at the university. So please forgive me. But I love starting with these Peanuts cartoons, okay? And you see the line of the cast of characters, and they're like, hey, one, please. And then Lucy's looking around and somebody's like, one, please, one, please, one, please, one, please. And Snoopy's like, I don't even know what's going on. Well, a good marketer can sell anything. And so somebody's a good marketer in this script because they're saying, hey, I want this and I'm in line for it. And that's what we want for your business as well. So I'm going to skip through these. This was basically just giving you some understanding that I have some expertise, but I think Jimmy did a really great job of explaining my background. So we're going to just quickly skip through these. You see some of the brands that I was a part of and that I am a part of. And then there's this other part of me, which is a social media side. And you can tell that I know a little bit about social media as well. That's not going to be my topic, but I just wanted you to understand that I have the full breadth of understanding of what marketing is. So let's get right into it. Marketing consists of a lot of different things, and people confuse, well, is it advertising? Is it brand? Is it research? Is it targeting? It's all of those things, and we're going to break it down for you step by step. But the first thing is that marketing starts with a strategy. Believe it or not, we just don't get a gut feel about what something looks like and go and present that and say, this is what it is, world. We actually start with a strategy. And so you have to understand, what's your mission? What are you trying to accomplish? What are the goals you're going to define to accomplish that mission? And then what is the creation of what you're trying to do? How do you create this actual mind strategy around how you want to implement things? And how do you come up with that strategy? You have to look at internal and external factors that are putting pressure, that are pressure testing what you're trying to do. And then you come up with tactics, and then you measure, and then you keep doing this thing. And so for your business, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is my North Star? What am I trying to accomplish? And what are those small goals that will get me there? And then how do I develop how I'm going to do it, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit. And then what are those tactics? How do you measure? How do you keep looking at the internal and external environments in order to fine tune that strategy? But again, remember, marketing is just not an art. It is a science as well. And so you start with a strategy. So what is marketing? And the definition is on the screen, but I'll read it for you. Marketing refers to any actions a company takes to attract an audience, keyword audience, to the company's product or service. Got to know what you're selling, through high quality messaging. So let's break that down. And we're going to talk about this audience piece. We're going to talk about attract. We're going to talk about not as much today as your product, because you know your product better than I. So I think you have that down packed. But then we're going to talk about high quality messaging and what does that all mean, right? So if I think about it in a different way, marketing is the process of getting people interested in your company's product or service. So just like the Peanuts cartoon and the script, what was that thing that everybody was in line? Everybody wanted to get it. And that's what we're going to be talking about. How do we make this happen? And so what you need is market research, analysis, and understanding your ideal customer interests. Again, here it is, that customer. Who is your audience? And then marketing pertains to all aspects of the business, including product development, distribution methods, sales, and advertising. All of these things are in the marketing realm. So what does marketing contribute? First of all, again, I'm going to sound like a bell that keeps ringing, or the chime that keeps ringing at Amazon every time we have a meeting. You just hear this sound every time you wake up. You're like, what? Do I have a meeting? So you're going to hear me say this again. Understanding your customer is key. Define the customer and understand their pain points. And for those of you who may not know what pain points are, it's basically what the customer is trying to solve with your product. So for instance, if we think about, I don't know, the iPod, right? The iPod was developed for what? The problem what people were having was that they wanted to transport their music, but guess what? Back in the day, not to age myself, we had what we call a boombox, and that boombox was on our shoulder, or we were dragging it with us, and we wanted to have our music be portable, but that wasn't convenient, carrying around this big thing all the time. We wanted it smaller and smaller and smaller so that it would be, again, convenient for us to bring our music. That was the pain point. How do I bring my music with me? So what you want to ask yourself is, who is my customer and what pain points do they have? What is my product or service going to solve for your customer? Number one. Number two, You're going to build the foundation. And what do I mean by that? Define your brand and deepen your customer insights. We're going to talk about brand in another session, as you know, but you have to define what that brand is, and then you have to deepen your customer insights. What does that mean, customer insights? Again, it goes back to the customer, something that we talk about at Amazon all the time, customer first. Who is your customer? What does your customer look like? What do they do every day? How much money do they have? How do they shop? How do they get advertising messages? Those are the insights we're talking about. You should know your customer so well that you're able to say, the pain point is this, my brand is this, and guess what? My service can solve this for them because I know this, 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 and this about them, right? Okay. Number 3, you got to tell a story. You have to establish the value proposition. What does that mean? That means I'm just not going to say, hey, I have this new thing called an iPod, come get it. We know it's going to solve their pain point. We know they're going to probably like it because we've done the research and the insights, but they still need to know what it is. And so what I'm going to say is, isn't just shoulder tired of carrying that boom box around? Wouldn't it be cool to have it just fit right on your hip? Your music, all of your music right there, your radio and your cassette player right on your hip. Wouldn't that be great? Aren't you tired of, having to put big batteries in there? I mean, that's the story. You understand what I'm saying? You have to tell that story and establish what your value proposition is. And after you do that, then you have to drive the awareness of the story and drive the awareness of your service. It's called getting on your customer's consideration list or consideration set. So, okay, when a person walks into that Best Buy back in the day, or dare I say Radio Shack back in the day, they're looking at the boombox and they're looking at this new thing. And so have you done enough to talk to them to make them understand so that they're now considering, maybe I should buy this new thing. It costs more, but it can do so many great things. That's what I'm talking about in terms of consideration set and the consideration list. Number 5, generate demand, heighten interest and purchase intent. That means advertising. You have to yell to the right people, hey, there's this thing at Radio Shack. You can come get it from me or come get it. That's the thing. How do you heighten the interest? How do you make sure that people are looking for your product or service? That's the generating demand part. And then finally, once you have a customer, you have to keep them. And that's called acquiring, getting them, and then creating loyalty, keeping them. So you want to attain for them to subscribe or for them to come back or keep listing or whatever your business is. How do you do that? How do you make them buy in to your product and service? So you have build the plan, build the buzz, build the demand. And of course, you want to be able to build the base. So again, understand your customer, build the foundation. That means, again, what we talked about, understand the customer, the attributes, the research, the insights, building that foundation of what this thing is. Then you want to tell the story. Why should I do whatever it is you want me to do? Why should I patronize your business? Why versus the competitor, right? Drive awareness, understanding. People know, oh, yes, this business does this. I should think about them. Generate the demand, and then finally acquire and create loyalty. Now, I know that this is a lot that we're saying right now. Jimmy's going to let me know if you all have any questions. And so if you do have questions, feel free to put those in the chat, excuse me, and he'll let me know. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So a lot of people think that there are 4 Ps to marketing. You probably heard that in your business school curriculums, et cetera. There are actually 7. And there could be more now, but there are 7. And here they are. They're listed here. The ones you may be familiar with is product, place, price, and promotion. You may be used to those. The new ones are process, people, and physical evidence. Now we're going to talk about each of these, okay? So the next slide is what they call the eye chart slide, but we're going to walk through each of these areas so that you can understand what the mix is within marketing, okay? All right, the eye chart. So if you think about it, the center here is our target market. This is who you're going after. Remember the understanding the customer part? That's what this is. Who is the market, or what is your market? Who are you going after? Are they young people from 18 or 15 to 22? Are they older people who are 45 and older or 65 and older? Like, who is the target and what do they look like? That's that piece that we talked about, understanding your customer. Okay, that's in the center. Let's start from place at the top and then we'll go clockwise. So place is just where something is distributed, right? Point of sale and distribution. For many of you, that may be online. And so what does your online place look like, right? Where is it that you will be selling these things, right? And how does that come to represent your brand and represent what you are trying to sell? How can people get to it? Is it easy for them to get to it? Is it a one click? Is it a one click to get to a information form that they fill out to send to you? Is it through your Instagram DM? Like, what is that? And that needs to be clearly defined because that represents how they're going to get to you. The price, of course, is the price. You set your price. You don't want to have a price that's overpriced. You don't want to undervalue yourself. There's a whole conversation around how to place value, whether you want to be a value conscious player, whether you want to be kind of a middle of the road player, or whether you want to be like a premium player. That's a whole nother conversation. But the point is you establish what your price is. Promotion, you know what those are. How are you going to promote? Are you going to give discounts? Are they sales, et cetera, et cetera? We won't go into that too much. People. If you have people that work for you, guess what? Those people oftentimes are the first touch points for your business and for your brand. Do they represent you and what you're trying to accomplish? If not, you better start looking at that because they are the ones that the first line of defense and the first engagement that a lot of people have other than your physical presence or other than your website. Your people, if you have people. And guess what? If you are the people, then you better represent who you're supposed to represent, right? You need to be that face of the company. Process is interesting because people don't think about process as being part of the marketing mix, but it is. Because think about this. Have you thought about calling, I won't mention any names because we may have clients or that are on the line, but if you think about a utility company and how fun is their process? How fun, I'm being facetious, how fun is it to get to someone to talk to? That is a representation of your brand and representation of your business. And so therefore, you want to look at that process and make sure that it's easy, that it is engaging, that it is simple, that people don't walk away and go, wow, I hate dealing with them because the process to pay them was horrible, that kind of thing, right? I know in my own personal business situations, I've been with agencies that had great work, but their operationalization was horrible. And I fired them because I was like, I cannot go and do more work to get this creative product than I would with another agency that may be a little bit more expensive, but by golly gee whiz, they are able to hit their numbers, hit their targets, hit their dates. Their invoices are clean and crisp. I understand they are great partners. Process is important. The physical environment. You ever walk into a Apple store? And when you walk in that store, what do you see? What do you feel? What's the vibe you get? What do you physically see? If you think about that, that is a representation of what Apple is. And so therefore, you use that as a way to market. You know it's going to be white, it's going to be clean, it's going to be kind of pure. It's almost like you walk into heaven sometimes. You're like, well, this is, you're in an Apple store versus if you walk into a different type of store, you know where you are, the physical environment. And then finally, the product, of course, what you are selling and making sure that is top notch. But these 7 spheres represent what marketing is, and there are processes within each that you need to do in order to make sure that you're successful. Of course, in the amount of time we have, we won't be able to go through all of these, but you need to now be aware that yes, how does price impact my marketing strategy? How does the promotion impact it? How do my people impact it, right? So at least you have this framework to think about. Okay, so the marketing foundation, we talked about this. Who is your audience? Remember that bell I said I was going to keep ringing? Well, I'm ringing again. Who is your audience? It takes a lot to go from 0 to delighted customers, right? There's time and nurturing that you have to put into it. You can't expect to come up with the iPod and then all of a sudden everybody's going to want it and everybody's going to understand. It takes time. And so give yourself that grace, understand it's going to take time, but then develop that plan. Remember, this plan, develop that plan to get after them. So when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. What does that mean? That means that, say, for instance, in my role here at Amazon, as Jimmy discussed, I am speaking to people in different countries who have different pain points around internet connectivity, who have different price points in terms of, not price points, but economic income, people who are speaking different languages, different cultures, businesses versus people, that they're different people. My point is, when I develop my marketing strategy, and I know that I can't speak to all of them the same way. And that's what it means. When you try to speak to everyone the same way, you're speaking to no one. So how do you speak directly to the people that you've determined are the ones that need to be buying, consuming your product or service? How do you do that? So here it is. Understanding who your customer. Remember, we talked about this, but this is what I'm saying specifically. These are some tools. Again, what is the pain point? What are you solving for them? It doesn't make sense if you just say, hey, I'm going to come up with a wedding planning organization. Okay, you know what wedding planners do, but what separates you and what's the pain point that the competitor has not been able to solve yet? You mean to tell me it's easy to work with them? You mean to tell me that they can diffuse the bridezilla? You mean to tell me that they have all of these connections that make it easy and can make something be just spectacular and I don't have to worry about anything? That could be a pain point. What is the customer profile? You gotta know who your customer is better than they know themselves. That's what we call personas, right? And we're going to talk about this during the brand piece, but the persona is basically saying, this person, this persona represents a segment of my target market. And so therefore, let's call the persona John. No, let's not call it John. Let's call the persona Jane. Jane is a 26-year-old who is a college graduate who just moved to the city. So she's kind of like a migrant person. You know, she's moving around. She hasn't set roots yet. She doesn't want a house. She wants to live in an apartment. She has a car that has a car payment. You understand, I'm building a profile of the person that I'm trying to target. And therefore, if I understand their pain point and I understand who they are, then I can tailor my messages to them and I can make sure that I'm presenting my service and solution to them because I know that Jane is the right person to talk to. How many Janes are out there? Are we talking about one Jane? Are we talking about 100,000 Janes, right? And how big is your opportunity? That's important, right? So when you're thinking about who your customer is, how many of those customers are out there? Do they all experience the pain the same way? So for me at Amazon and with Project Kuiper, a customer in Montana that is having internet connectivity issues is different than a person who's in Petersburg, Virginia. The person in Montana is a do-it-yourselfer who is like, I don't need anybody's help. I am living off the land. I don't care about the big city. The person in Petersburg, which is not too far from Richmond, has aspirations, many of them. Well, why can't my internet work like the ones in Richmond, my friends in Richmond? Why can't I do everything like my friends in Richmond? They can serve, they can game, they can do, you know, their second job with Mary Kay. Why can't I? Why? I'm paying the same amount of money or more. Two different experiences of that pain, and I have to talk to each of them. And if I try to talk to them like everyone, guess what? Neither one of them would be happy with me because I would be sending the wrong messages, right? That's what I mean. Do all of them experience the pain the same way? And what other solutions do they have now? What's the competition? What separates you as you're thinking about your marketing? What separates you from them, right? So for me, I can tell you the secret sauce, but I won't because then that means I may not have a job. But I have secret sauce in my solutions, in the product and the service that I will be bringing to market that will differentiate me from other people. So if I get all of these things correct, then I should have a really good marketing plan. And why don't they like the existing solutions? What is it? Customer service is bad. You can't get anybody on the phone. You're selling an internet connection, but when my connection goes down, I can't call anybody because all of the tools are online. Yeah, there are some ways that you can be strategic about going after a developing your marketing to highlight the way you're better. I don't recommend that you point out someone else's weaknesses. In other words, my point is saying Coca-Cola never mentions Pepsi. Never. They talk about what they are doing, what their solution is, the taste that they have, the feeling that they invoke, but they would never mention the competition. So I'm one that says when you're developing your marketing strategy, I wouldn't mention the competition, but what I would do is say, the other people are doing this. So how do I message that in a way that highlights how I am different, how I am solving their pain point that will resonate with them and say, yep, that's so much better than what I got here, right? So again, one size does not fit all, right? And that means you have to, again, look at everything. Look at the region you're in. If you're international, what country you're in, the language, the culture, the competitors, your insights. We'll talk about purchase funnels in a second. We're going to get to that, the marketing funnel, and the budget allocation so that you can come up with a plan. Okay. So the marketing plan and the funnel. Now you have all this foundational stuff. Before you can even start to talk about a marketing plan, you need to have those building blocks together for your strategy. If you come up with a plan that does not map back to the people that you're trying to go after, you're wasting your money, right? So remember that. Okay. Again, understand your segments. Create a strong brand positioning and messaging. We'll talk about brand separately. Deliver the consistent brand experience and acquisition strategy. Acquisition strategy just means how you're going to acquire, how you're going to get people to sign up to consume whatever it is you're doing. And then again, maintain, retain customers and measure. Let me stop here and just say, measure results, okay? You have to understand how your marketing is doing in order to then say, okay, you know what? These ads that I placed, these digital ads that I placed are doing very well for me. Therefore, guess what I need to do? I need to invest more in those ads again because this other thing I was doing didn't have any return on investment or didn't bring any new clients. So I know I shouldn't do that. But if you're not measuring that on the back end of your plan, then therefore you're not going to be efficient and you're not going to be optimizing your spend because you're going after the wrong people, right? Or using the wrong tactics to get to the right people. So you got to measure. But this is the foundation of your plan. And I'll leave it here for a second. So I'm going to introduce you to the marketing funnel. And this is how we as marketers look at the opportunity or look at the challenge we have ahead of us. So each funnel layer is purposeful and important for effectiveness. So let's look at the first one, awareness. This is what we call top of funnel, the awareness. That means that people are aware that you are here, right? They are aware. You have done the job of talking to that target audience and making sure that they understand that you are there. The second part is consideration. The third part is conversion. And the last part is retention. So those are the four that I just mentioned. And the goal at each stage is to move customers from the first stage to the next stage to the next stage so that you can get what we call, conversion, loyalty, and retention. And it's the call to action. So the idea is that you may get, and I'm just going to use numbers for simplicity's purpose. You may get 10 people aware, but you may not only convert 3 of them, and you need to retain as many of those 3 as you can. If you have 10 people and you can convert all 10 and you can keep all 10 loyal, come talk to me because I need to talk to you. But it rarely happens. The idea is that's why the funnel goes from wide to small, because the idea is that you want to create so much awareness that by the time you get to conversion and loyalty, that you have that base that you need in order to reach your goals in terms of financial goals or whatever that is. Only you know those, but this is the framework that we have. So how do you activate this funnel? So the first part, as I mentioned, is awareness. So how do you build brand awareness? I'm going to touch on it just a little bit, y'all, but we're going to have a whole session, as Jimmy mentioned, that's going to talk about awareness and how we maintain this level of awareness in terms of our brand. But what does that mean? That means you're going to establish a new brand, right? Yours may be existing. So new, existing, you can interchange, but you want to create this kind of architecture around a world-class brand. You want people to understand what it is that you are selling and who you are. Just think about some of the iconic brands that are out there. If I say Nike, immediately something comes to your head. If I say Starbucks, immediately something comes to your head. If I say the Kansas City Chiefs, immediately something comes to your head. Now, whether you were a 49ers fan or not, hey, I'm just using that as an example. Something comes to your head, and that's the idea of a brand. And then you want to have those people evangelize that brand, right? So it's more they talk about the brand, the more you're going to have people to be at that top of funnel. So remember, we want as many people to be aware of your product and service as possible. We will talk about the brand in more detail later. Of course, I can put this image up and I'm going to say 80% of the world wouldn't know who this is before. I don't have her name there, but we know who she is. And that's because her brand is super, super strong. But a lot of people are aware of her. So as she is starting to sell things, we say, oh, we trust Serena. Why do we trust her? Because she's a champion, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about more of that later, but that's the idea. You want to build the awareness of your product and service at the top of that funnel. So you have your awareness. Now, once you have these people aware, they know what you're doing, they know what you're selling, they know what your service is. Now you need to educate them so that they then consider you. So remember, I was just talking about awareness. I didn't say anything about education. We know something. We know of your service, but now you need to take them from being aware of your service to want to consider your service, right? So think about this. When you conjure up, say for instance, Nike, okay? If you're a Nike fan, you know what Nike is, you know what they sell, but there's a feeling you get and an understanding that whatever it is will allow you to be the best athlete you can be and be stylish at it. So therefore, now I put you in the consideration set. Ladies and now men too, but Lululemon, again, a different type of genre not genre, different type of positioning in terms of marketplace positioning, higher end, kind of that, what is it? Casual, athletic, casual wear stuff. But that's a consideration too, when you're thinking about working out gear, right? And then you have other brands that you're thinking about, but you know what they do, and now you're ready to consider them. It's the education piece that you have to do. A lot of people fail to do the education. They do the awareness. People know about them. They're networking. They're talking to people. She said she did consulting, but what kind of consulting was it? And what value is it? And what am I going to get? Education to be then put into the consideration set, right? So this is content. What is it that you do? Remarketing, that's a tactic that you can use online when people are searching for instance, I'm looking for a consultant in Atlanta and your ad pops up versus another ad that could be coming. And that's a remarketing thing that you can do on digital. And then, of course, with social, third-party endorsements are really big, right? Because word of mouth is big and social media is big now. So if someone can say, who's an influencer can say, yeah, I used her consulting company because, it was great. Or, yeah, I used their, services because they were great. That gives a lot of social cachet and political cachet that you can use in order to raise that awareness, right? And raise that consideration set, right? Okay. So then we go to conversion. And that means how easy is it to have people consider you and then they buy or they, contract you for whatever it is that you're doing. So the value proposition, differentiation, and ease of purchase helps drive the transition from consideration to awareness and then to conversion. And so the idea is, yes, I heard about her service. She's a consultant for, I don't know, weddings. And I hear that it's great. Okay, let me go ahead and try to do that. If your website is not right, if your contact form gets unanswered, if you don't have great follow-up, then you're going to lose that person. You're going to lose that conversion. But if everything is tight and buttoned up, which is part of your marketing plan to have this right, then all of a sudden, then that person makes it easy for them to convert and easy to pay you and easy to understand. And then finally, let's go here. Yes. And then finally, the conversion happens. And then that means you have hyper targeting, right? You develop and test who you're going to do, who you're going to go after, and you convert them, right? Digital activations. Digital is a big part of it. So I would suggest that people put a digital media mix in their consideration set, right? In your marketing mix, in the tactics that you use. And then promotions are very good in terms of getting people to convert. What's my incentive? You know, the 10% off, 15% off, or free consultation. You see some of these things. Those are the offers and the promotions that are used to get people to say, okay, you know what, I'm on the fence, but let me go ahead and convert. Let me go ahead and send that $100 deposit, whatever that is. I will say this, we don't talk about finances here, but you have to make sure that your offer and your promotion isn't too rich, because what you don't want to have happen is people to take advantage of your promotion and then they don't understand the value of what you're doing and then they leave you after the promotion. You don't want that to happen. You want it to be just right so they go from consideration to conversion and then they say, I can stick because the price after, you know, the price is the price, that real price is something that they can afford and they feel is the right value for them, okay? And then sales channel support, what this just basically means is, are you developing, if you have a franchise business or if you have people that are working with you, have you developed and given them the tools that they need in order to, you know, sell for you on your behalf? Finally, again, we talked about this, but retention is part of your marketing plan. So what are you going to do? What's your plan once you have these people that are now customers of yours? How do you prevent them from leaving you? What's your customer service like? How does your product really perform? What kind of product are you putting out there? We've seen it, and I keep using these weddings because it's some of the things that is really popular on social media right now. But you've seen these disasters, right? That these people have paid money for an experience, and what they got was not it. Or dare I say that other low-cost brands that starts with an S and ends with an N, and you've seen them, right? You see the picture that's advertised, and they've done everything. They've built the awareness. People now consider them. They have converted and purchased. And then when they get it, the product just does not represent what they were selling. And so therefore, they lose people. You want to have great customer service, a great product. The value proposition is there, and it helps you to retain your people. So we're talking about the messaging that's going to move people. This is very important. So I'm going to give you some examples. So what happened, we've been talking about the awareness, consideration, conversion, then of course, retention, but we're going to talk about each of these. So awareness, this is what it looks like. It's broad persona targeting messaging. A personas, again, remember Jane, she looks like 26, blah, blah, blah. Targeted. No strong CTA means no strong call to action. You're not asking anyone to do anything right now. You're trying to get them to be aware that you exist. Most customers will go to a brand website, social, or search. If you are a business and you do not have presence on all of your social channels, which we call a digital footprint, and a website or a place that you call home, some people use Facebook, but I would suggest you still need a website even in 2024. If you don't have a place for them to go, they're not going to look at you like you're legit. And so how can they learn more if there's no way for them to go and get more information after you've gotten them aware? Like, okay, I need to let you know I exist. And here's some examples of real life, you know, I'm in the cable industry or in the internet connectivity industry. So you will see I use these examples. Now tell me why you're better. Why should I consider you? And this is more targeted. And CTA means, again, customer targeted, no, I'm sorry, the acquisition messaging. You want to have it be strong. So therefore they know what it is. So, hey, we told you about we are Xfinity, and now you kind of understand what we are and what we do. And now I'm coming to say, okay, I need $30 a month for this service. And it gives language about how to do that, multiple ways for customers to engage. Go to our website. You can find us here, blah, blah, blah. That is consideration. Now, once you've considered, now I got to convert you. And so what we do, make it easy to buy. Plans that are explained, pricing that's clear, frictionless experience, few steps to purchase. You have to make that. Remember the 7 Ps that we talked about? And one was process. This is what I'm talking about. The process is easy. It represents your brand. It makes people go, you know what? Oh, I heard about them. I wanted to buy them. Oh, it's easy to buy. Boom, click. And then retention. Keep me happy. Keep in touch. Reward and delight your customers. You know, track their engagement, the measurement. So do you have a loyalty program? Is that something that makes sense for you? If you have a customer that is coming back monthly, do you provide a free 15-minute consultation because you've been a customer of mine for 6 months? Those types of things. We call that life cycle marketing or customer-based marketing, which allows you to keep in touch with your customer base. It allows you to feel like, or for them to feel like that you're listening, that they're valued, and that you appreciate them. And so the idea, again, is that these people become loyal, and then they become evangelists for you. They're the ones that are like, yeah, that wedding planning was amazing. I loved it. It was easy. It was top notch. They even had a photographer that came with it and the videographer. I didn't have to worry about any of that. It was like a one-stop solution. And it was very high end, or it was very affordable, whatever your value proposition is. But you want them to be happy. So this is the funnel come to life. We talked about awareness, consideration, conversion, retention. This is what it looks like in real life terms. So what's the full marketing effect? And we're going to sit here just for a second, and then I'm going to leave time for you all to ask questions. But here's the idea. You want people, you saw you saw the funnel. This is another way to look at it. But the idea here is you want to move customers from being strangers to being promoters. Or in my speak from the South, from Atlanta, you want them to be evangelists, right? So they become strangers, but through your awareness tactics, that's what attract means. Through your awareness tactics, remember that top of funnel, you have now brought them from being strangers. They kind of know you. They're visitors. They're like, hey, how you doing? Come on in. Now they're a visitor. Then you want to convert them, right? You want to start talking about what it is. You know, it's the consideration set. You want to start getting them to consider you. And then they're going, okay, now they're coming a lead. They're coming person that's a hot lead. Okay, now I got them on the line. Once you have them on the line, what are you going to do with them? You're going to close them. You're going to convert them to be a customer. But at that point in time, they're just a customer, which is great, but you want them now to become part of your marketing where they're using social media, email, different types of tactics to talk to people and say, guess what? This is the best company ever. You need to understand or do all of these things for your marketing plan. But don't forget, the first part of the plan is what? Understanding that customer, knowing who you're trying to go after, doing your research, doing your analytics so that you understand their pain points. Then you can start to funnel them into the marketing funnel. That's what I have for you today. We're leaving some time at the end. I know we have a hard stop at 4 o'clock my time. So we want to leave some time for you all to have some questions so I can answer them for you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open the floor here for questions. You can raise your hand and I can activate you to talk. You can put your question in the chat, whatever you would like to do. So at this time, we'll open the chat. Thank you, Winston, for that
Sure.
information, that knowledge. And so the floor is open. If you have a question, raise your hand, put your question in the chat, and we will get you up so you can ask.
I know entrepreneurs aren't shy. They should be.
You know what I've learned, Winston, is nobody wants to ask the first question, and
I
then
know.
once they ask the first question, now everybody is comfortable. So the question is, who dares to go first?
That's a good question. Who will answer? Somebody asked, will the copy of the slides be available? Unfortunately not. There will be a recording, right?
There is a recording, yes. So the
Yeah.
recording.
Yep. Great first question. There we go.
All right. Any other questions?
They're all marketing experts now.
I think so, man. You know, that's the sign of a great presentation when you've covered everything in a way where nobody has any questions and they walk out, you know, empowered, enlightened, and ready to go. So, yeah.
If I could just emphasize, I know that people are probably like, okay, let me just think about what I want to ask. It's important that people do the planning first. And I've been guilty of this. I have a great idea, I have a great business, and I'm just going to start going. But the idea is that you have to have a plan, and the plan is so vital because if you don't have the pieces of your marketing thought through, then one, you're just going to have inefficient use of your money. But two, you're really not going to go after the right people potentially. And that's the goal. So even in my business and all the different roles I've had, we start from the customer first, which is an Amazon kind of principle, but we start with the customer. What does the customer want? I mean, how many internet services are out there? But we have something unique because we looked, we did the research, and we understood there's a whole market of people who are suffering in a digital desert because, some other companies don't care. So anyway, start with that plan and those customers first.
Yeah, and Winston, you talked about how understanding customer voices and talking to different people differently, but just to throw out there, but the general principles that you applied, right? I mean, we have people that come to these trainings in various walks of their business worlds and different industries, but your principles are generally applicable to all of those industries, correct?
Oh, that's absolutely correct. You can look at, again, the example I used, which was, the wedding planner. You can look at being a consultant. You can look at, being a company that cleans houses and cleans, industries or companies. It's the same principle. Who are you going after? What is their target? What does it look like? What is the pain point that you're trying to solve? How are you different than the solutions that are out there? You got to understand that, because once you understand that, then you can start tailoring your message to those people. I'm a person that loves to have things that are insured because I'm the one that feels like that one time is going to happen, and I need to have that insurance. Well, if you know that about me and you know that I could potentially have some disposable income, then if you provide a service for me, then I'm going to be the one that's going to buy it, whether I need it in 10 years or tomorrow or what have you. So
Right.
it's applicable to many different industries.
All right. So we have a question here from Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Tiffany.
Um, how do you recommend retaining customers in consulting? There are often price point changes and needs of individuals and organizations often change.
Yes. Yeah, I deal with a lot of consultants myself. So not on knowing what your consultancy is, there must have been a reason why that person came to you or why that company came to you. It was something. Is it a finite project where you've consulted on it and then it's done? It's a one and done. And if they have another project, they're going to think about you because you delivered the results. You were excellent what you did. It was easy to work with you. You were amenable to, talking to them, whatever those things are. Or is it a situation where they're going to have ongoing projects and you become their trusted partner? You have to understand again what their goals are. For me, I have consultants that I work with that they're part of my team almost, they're an extension of my team. And so the way they position themselves isn't a one-time pitch. It is, I will be your partner throughout this process because we understand that as a marketing leader, your pain points are A, B, and C. And when I hear that, I go, they get it. They know. Yes, talk to me about what you've done. Versus if I just need a one-time shot, I need to just understand what this market is and how do I go into Brazil for a certain thing. That's all I need. And when I need to go into another country, maybe I will call you. So you have to understand that. And then again, I think with the consulting, especially because I'm a consultant in some of my part-time job here, time that I have, I make sure that I'm the person that they say, Winston's easy to work with. His quality is top notch. He's always on time. He's always asking the right questions. I can tell that he's done this before because he is alleviating the stress from me. Those kind of things can help you retain your customers, your clients, if you are one that is dealing with somebody who needs more than just a one-time thing. I hope that answered the question.
So here's what I'm gonna do, Winston. I'm gonna enable people that are posting questions. I'm gonna enable them to talk just to be
Oh,
sure
cool.
that they are good. So
Tiffany,
Tiffany,
did I
I
answer
have
your
enabled
question?
you to talk. So make sure that you got your question answered.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much, Winston. That's really good stuff. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. And so we're gonna go to Latoya. And Latoya, I'm gonna enable you to talk and
Hey,
we're
Latoya.
gonna make this real interactive. So I'm gonna let you ask your question.
Hi, thank you. So my question is the pain points. I've heard other marketers saying that, you know, if you're not solving 3 problems in your business, you really don't have a business. Others say your main pain point should be one that your business solve. And me listening to you tonight, I'm like, wait, I have questions now. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, how much pain points should your business really solve? Because I'm a daycare owner and
Mm,
I just don't wear a hat of I take care of children mixed ages. I also take care of parents. And sometimes I take care of grandparents. You know what I mean? So I just want to
yes.
know, like, if your business is not solving 2 pain points, like, is that true? Is that not true?
Yeah, the thing about people like me, we always have opinions, don't we? Um, I think, Latoya, in your line of business, if you are not solving like you just articulated, then you aren't really going to be helpful to that family, right? I mean, the main thing you're doing is providing daycare for the child. I mean, that's table stakes. But it sounds to me that, mom is going to be late sometimes. And so she's going to, so you may have to be there a little later. And there's a fluid situation where, instead of mom comes, grandmama's going to come. And, she comes with a whole different set of issues. And you have to be counselor, scheduler, part-time mom, like you have to do all those things in your line of business. And so for me, I don't think there's a set rule that says businesses only have one pain point or businesses have more than one. I think it's about the business and the industry. And so for you, I would say you're on the right path. You have to solve all of those pains because then they can say, she just makes life easy. But you know what? It's all those things that you do underneath that makes life easy for them or easier for them, if that makes sense. So I think you're on the right track. You have to solve more than just one pain, but the main thing that you're doing is providing that safety and security and probably pre-education for that child and making their life easy.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Uh, so Sweets has a question about if she needs your services, how do we go about it? And so I'm going to answer that, Winston, because what Headco would like, if you would like to schedule time with our facilitators, that you coordinate that through me so that we can kind of record and track those hours. So that's something where if you'd like to get on Winston's calendar, definitely reach out to me directly and we'll make that happen.
Thank you for answering for me.
All right. And we look like we might have time for one more question from you, right, Winston?
Sure.
So anyone else? Well, looks like you might have answered for everybody there, Winston. So listen, what a great training. Thank you for being here with us. I describe you as kind of knowledge personified, right? And I know that Amazon pays you an incredible amount of money for your skill sets, your talents, and your expertise. And so I'm just glad that we can have you for a little bit. And so we're asking everyone to please, tune in next week because we're going to take what you learned today and move on in dealing with activating your brand. So now how do we make this work for you in your respective spaces? And so that's a powerful thing when you go from knowledge to steps. So be here with us next week, 6 p.m. And we look forward to continuing this training. So thank you, Winston. We know you're on the West Coast, so this is kind of still in the middle of your workday. So
Yes.
so thanks a lot. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Thank you all. Talk to you later.
And good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.